Hi everyone, so today I felt like sitting down and, well, I always feel like sitting down, but sitting down with you and doing a good old-fashioned kind of chatty makeup routine tutorial. I say tutorial because there's not going to be anything particularly groundbreaking going on here that you don't probably already know, but it's been a while since I did one of these and I do miss them, so I thought I would bring it out again. So I actually asked on Twitter and Instagram what you would all like to see me do, and the kind of main feeling was that you wanted to see a very kind of glowy spring, summer, fresh skin look. But then there were also some people that wanted a kind of how to wear dark, bold lips in the summer, and I thought those were both really interesting things to actually put together. So today I'm going to do something very fresh and light on the skin, nice and glowy and dewy looking, but I'm going to use a dark, bold lipstick, and it's actually one that I'm really excited about. It's one of my newer purchases, and I've been a little bit obsessed with it since buying it. You've probably already seen it on this channel somewhere. I'm sure I've been wearing it in one of my last videos, so that will come later. So this morning I actually used the Sunday Riley Artemis oil as the last step in my skincare routine. I skipped serums and moisturisers altogether. I put a little bit of eye cream on though, but this I kind of just used straight after using my cleanser, and I really worked it into my skin. I gave myself quite a vigorous massage with this, and it just really plumps and boosts and gives your skin such a lovely glow. Oil isn't something that I would usually use on my skin in the morning, but this one I find I can get away with it. It's actually a very balancing oil, so it does help to even out oily patches if you're someone like me that suffers from dry skin in general but then gets an oily T-zone, very confusing skin type. This is a brilliant one. So I put this on and I really worked it into my skin, and I think that's just a great first step to giving a really nice glowing looking makeup. I am going to start by putting a little bit of primer just on my cheeks and maybe down my nose a tiny bit. This is the Clarins Instant Smooth Perfecting Touch Primer. It's so incredibly smooth. It feels kind of bouncy a little bit in there. It's absolutely lovely, and I find this just kind of fills in my slightly bigger pores around my cheeks, which can sometimes show up when I'm wearing foundation. It is slightly mattifying, but it doesn't completely block out the shine in my skin, so I really like the formula of this. For base, I've actually found mixing a couple of products together is my favourite thing to do at the moment, just to create a kind of tailored coverage and a tailored texture across my skin. And I have two of my actual favourites on their own at the moment, the Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue and the L'Oreal Infallible 24 Matte Foundation, and I find these two mixed together work really nicely because you get the real dewy, fresh look of the Bare Minerals, and then a tiny bit of L'Oreal in there just gives it a little bit more coverage, which is what I sort of like at the moment. And I just do that on the back of my hand. I probably put a lot more of the lighter coverage base than I do of the fuller one. Now sometimes as well I will kind of mix in a glowing kind of radiant highlighter in here, so something like NARS Copacabana highlighter or Benefit High Beam makes for a really extra dewy foundation. So I'm just going to pop that all over, and this makes for a really lovely sort of sheer finish that still has a nice amount of cover. And I have this really new interesting foundation brush to blend it in with. This is from Tarte. It doesn't have a name or anything like that. I will link it in the description box though, as always, but it's really tiny. If I compare it to something like, what do I have here? This is the Real Techniques buffing brush, very dirty looking, I apologise, but you can see how much smaller it is, and I find you get a really nice precise application, but it's still got a nice kind of dense, packed, flat top brush head to it, so it blends product in really nicely. And I kind of just concentrate it on the centre of my face. I really don't like wearing a heavy product when it's hotter outside, so I try to keep everything to the minimal and just really buff everything in. And I find when you add in the L'Oreal foundation, you can really buff that stuff in and it still gives an amazing amount of coverage no matter how thin a layer you have on. So for concealer, it's the normal duo, the Bobbi Brown Corrector in Bisque, and then my Origins Plantscription concealer. I'll never get tired of it, I just absolutely love it. And then all the under eye concealer, because I stayed up last night watching Orphan Black. Susie, I have you to blame completely for that. This brush is actually just small enough that it works really nicely under the eyes. And I also forgot to bring my normal concealer brush, so that helps. Forever a slave to my dark circles. Okay, so on to the fun part, and I'm going to add some much needed warmth into my skin, and I'm going to keep this makeup very creamy, so I'm going to use lots of cream products, cream bronzer, cream blusher, and the bronzer that I'm going to use is one that I've kind of discovered quite recently, and I'm absolutely in love with it. I think it's amazing. I don't know how I've missed this one for so long, and it's from Bourjois. This is their BB Bronzing Cream 8-in-1. It's basically just a very dark BB cream, but it's very sheer, so it gives this lovely wash of colour across the cheeks, and the actual colour of it is so nice as well. It's a very reddy tone bronzer, which I think is flattering for most people. I tend to avoid the very orangey ones and stick to the more red tone ones. It is actually part of their chocolate range as well, so it smells like chocolate. which is definitely a plus. You could be brave and go ahead and blend this in with your fingers. I'm not quite there. I really haven't mastered the art of blending in colour products with fingers, so I'm going to use a good old favourite, the Real Technique stippling brush, and just kind of really work that into my hand and work it into the brush and pretty much take off most the excess as well before I put it onto my skin. So I've just got a really tiny amount of that, probably even still too much on the brush, and I'm just going to blend it in like you would do a normal bronzer. So I'm going to take it on my cheeks and on the high points of my face, a little bit down my nose, because I always find that's a really nice trick, just to make you look like you've got a bit more of a sun-kissed look. Just put some bronzer on your nose. To finish the skin off, I'm going to use two new products from Charlotte Tilbury. These are just probably the most beautiful makeup items I've ever owned. Just look at the packaging. These are actually part of her collaboration with Norman Parkinson, who's just a world-renowned fashion photographer, and all the lids have these beautiful pictures on them. Most of them are old Vogue covers, but there's a few extra pictures in there, but they're just so pretty. So the first one I'm going to use is the Colour of Youth Cream Blusher, and this is just my ideal cream blusher. It's so glossy and really glowy in its formula, and it's got this really pretty pinky, almost quite red colour, which you can really sheer out, and it looks like a very natural flush on the cheeks. So I'm going to use the same brush just to apply a really small amount of that. Again, I'm just patting most of it off on the back of my hand. You could go a lot deeper and darker with this if you weren't going to do a bold lip, but because I am, I'm going to keep it quite subtle. But it is just such a healthy looking blush colour, I love it. And then the second product I'm going to use from Charlotte Tilbury is a highlighter. This is a really beautiful highlighter. It's a really pretty kind of peachy pink colour, and the actual highlight pigments in it, you can't really see them at all. There's definitely no sparkle, no shimmer in there, but it just gives the skin a beautiful glow, so perfect for a summer highlighter. I basically just want to put this all over my face because it's so lovely, but I'm going to keep it to the cheekbones and down the bridge of my nose. It just has such a radiant little sheen, but it doesn't look glittery at all. It's amazing. So I am going to powder just a really small amount. You can totally skip this step if you don't have an oily T-zone like I do, but it's a very warm day today, and I can tell I'm going to get quite shiny in the centre of my face. So I'm going to use MAC Studio Fix powder for this. I've been quite into this powder recently. I think it's just a nice sort of airbrush looking one, especially for sort of soaking up any excess oils and shine. Tiny bit. Tiny, tiny bit. Okay, that's enough. I'm sure you're all completely bored of watching me do my brows by now. It's the same two products that I always use, the Bobbi Brow Kit. This is in the shade Light, looks like that, and then to define the arch, the Soap & Glory Archery pencil, so I'm just going to whiz through this. This brow is looking a bit weird because I just tinted them this morning, and I wasn't particularly precise in my application, and I have a brown splodge on the end of this brow now, so let's just try and ignore that. I want this to be quite a long-lasting makeup, so I'm going to set those down with a product I've been using quite a lot recently. This is the Eyeko Brow Gel. This is everything that I wanted the Benefit Brow Gel to be, and better. The Benefit one, I can't remember the name of it. Is it called Benebrow or something like that? It's very kind of dark on me. Both the colours really don't match, and it's a very kind of thick, chalky product, whereas this is almost like a sheer wash. It kind of reminds me of the MAC Brow Set, but it really does set your brows in place. The wand as well, I love it. So little and cute and perfect for defining your brows. It's also a really nice one to use on its own because the tin is just dark enough to kind of conceal any sparse patches. It's really nice for a no makeup day. Okay, on to eyes, and I'm going to keep things very simple and very natural. Because I'm wearing a bold lip, I want to really balance everything out, so I'm not going to put a lot on there at all. And I think as well, in summer I just never really have time for eyeshadow. I think it always looks nicer when you keep things very light and simple on the eyes. So I'm going to use a little bit of a kind of matte defining colour. This is Cork from MAC. This is quite a recent purchase actually. I'm surprised I've never had this one before because it's definitely a very me colour, and I think it's one of MAC's kind of really cult shades as well. So I'm really just going to use that on a fluffy brush in the crease of my eye just to sort of define that. You don't really have to do this step at all, but I find because I have quite hooded eyes, I sort of need that extra bit of definition. So I'm going to keep that super blended and just really, really subtle. I still like to have a bit of definition around my lashes, so I'm going to smudge in a little bit of the Stila Smudge Stick Waterproof Eyeliner in Lionfish. This is a really, really pretty colour. It's quite a bronzy brown, but it's got some glittery kind of gold shimmer pigments in there as well, which looks so pretty when they're blended out. So I'm just going to really messily kind of get that as deep into the roots of my lashes as I can. And you can really blend this into any shape that sort of suits you. So I like my eyes to be slightly more winged out. I find that just opens them up a little bit. So I'm going to kind of blend it upwards and outwards. I think it's just a really subtle and very pretty way of defining your eyes. So onto mascara. I'm going to use one that I've been kind of testing out recently. I've sort of run out of all my favourite mascaras, so I'm trying a few new things. This is the Masterpiece Transform High Impact Volumizing Mascara from MAC Swatch. I've used this quite a few times actually, and it's a very thick pigmented mascara. I nearly forgot to curl my lashes, that would have been a mistake. And then Clinique Bottom Lash Mascara on my lower lashes. You know how it goes, always the same. Okay, so onto the bold lip and the moment that I've been waiting for. Obviously you could just leave it at that, maybe put on something like a very light coral, light peachy lipstick, even just a gloss or nothing at all, and it would look really pretty as an everyday summer makeup. So when it comes to wearing a bold, dark lip in summer, I think it really depends on the formula as to how well you can pull it off. So something with a completely matte finish is definitely a bit of a no, because they just look very wintry and they kind of dry out your lips slightly and it just doesn't look very summery at all. So I think sticking to something with a bit of gloss, maybe even just a satin finish, is the best thing to do. So I have a few favourites here. The first one is from Topshop. I've had this one in my collection for so long, it's a good old favourite. This is Beguiled. It looks quite dark in the bullet, but it actually comes out very sheer. It's a very kind of berry tone, deep red. It's really pretty actually, and the formula of these are really nice and balmy without being too glossy, so the perfect sort of formula for a summer bold lip. And then something a little bit more on the purple side, this is MAC's Rebel. This again is a really nice formula, but it is definitely a lot brighter and a lot more sort of pinky purpley. And then as well I have this from Clinique. This is quite a new one to me. This is their Colourpop lipstick in Berry Pop. It's quite in between the two actually. These have a slightly glossier formula. This one is actually slightly more red, I'd say. A really, really pretty one, and they are so hydrating, these lipsticks. But the one I'm going to go for today, and a lipstick that I'm becoming quite obsessed with recently, is also from MAC. This is Diva, and I think the thing I like about this the most is actually the colour of it. It's a very reddy toned dark lipstick, and I think that's quite a rare thing to find. They usually tend to be more on the berry side of things or a little bit more purpley, but this is really kind of a true dark red. Now this is actually a matte formula, and I do find that MAC's matte lipsticks, that's really hard to say, don't ever really come out matte on me. It's really strange. I think apart from maybe Ruby Woo, which is possibly the most drying lipstick in history, they all look quite glossy and quite sheeny on me. I don't know if that's just me or just the formulas in general, so I don't really have a problem with this looking too matte on my lips, but if you do, you could always just add a bit of a clear gloss or a balm on top. Oh, I just love this colour so much. And you could definitely really sheer this out. I was actually wearing it in a previous video and I had it really quite sheer, so you don't have to go completely bold. You could almost just sort of tap it into your lips for a bit of a stain. And that is the finished look. I just cannot express in words how much love I have for this lipstick. I think it's so pretty, really perfect for a summer dark lip, and I just want to wear it every single day from now on. So I hope you enjoyed watching that, and if there are any other makeup looks you'd like to see me do in the future, please leave them in the comments below or let me know through Twitter or Instagram. I'm also going to leave my Instagram and Twitter links here as well if you don't follow me on there already. So thank you all so much for watching, and don't forget to give this video a little like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you're new, and I will see you all soon. Bye!